Hello, my name's Karina and welcome to my classroom. Thank you all so much for joining me, and today I'm going to be showing you how to draw the Houses of Parliament. Now, that might seem a little bit strange to you, but hopefully it doesn't if you live in Great Britain and it is the month of November, because that is the month that we celebrate Guy Fawkes Night. Before we start drawing, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history behind the celebration, and in doing so, I'm going to have to take you back to 1605, which is a long time ago. At that time, there was a king called James I. Now, King James I was what we would call a little bit controversial, and some people really loved him and his ideas, and some people did not. And you've probably worked out which side Guy Fawkes sat on. He did not like King James at all. In fact, he disliked him so much that when somebody came up with the idea to blow up the Houses of Parliament in which King James would have been sat, then he was going to be the one to help them do it. Guy Fawkes was an expert in explosives, so he was responsible for organising all the gunpowder and, crucially, lighting the fuse. But, unfortunately for him, it never happened. That's because the plot was foiled and he was quickly arrested and tortured until he gave up the names of all the other people who were involved in the plot to blow up the Houses of Parliament. Did you know up until 1959 it was illegal for schools in Britain not to celebrate Guy Fawkes? Although interestingly, we obviously still celebrate it today with a large bonfire with a guy on the top as well as some fireworks. Now, fireworks are also made from gunpowder, and you'll know from a firework that we have to light the fuse in order for it to explode in the sky. A fuse is the part that you light at the end, which takes a little bit of time before it reaches the explosive. That's why we have fireworks on Guy Fawkes Night, to represent the fuse that was never lit in the Houses of Parliament being blown up. Right, that's enough history, I think. Let's get down to some drawing. So what you're going to need today is some white paper, some black paper, and of course, a pencil to draw with. All right, come on down to my desk and I'll see you down there. Right, we are going to be drawing the Houses of Parliament. I'm going to give you a bit of a warning about this one. It is tricky. If you would like to use a ruler to help you with some of the straight lines, you can do that, but I am going to be drawing freehand today, just using my pencil. You also should be aware that this is a drawing video, and one of the benefits of that is that you can pause the video if you need a bit more time to finish off some of the artwork. So remember to do that if you're not managing to complete the instruction that I have given, or you just need a bit more time to finish off. You can then join in whenever you're ready. Right, let's get started. You're going to have your page in landscape format, which means it's on its side, and we are going to be drawing Big Ben first. So what you're going to need to do is we're starting with the clock face first. So around about halfway on the page, so think about where your halfway line is. On the right hand side, not too close to the edge, we are going to draw a small round circle. See if you can do that now. And then once you have your round circle, you're going to draw another one slightly bigger just around the outside of it. So you have a double circle for the clock face, a smaller one on the inside and a larger one on the outside. Once you have that, we're then going to encase the circle in a square. This feels very mathematic today. Circles and squares all combined in art. It's excellent. So let's see if we can add a square box around the outside of the circle. The main thing to watch is the spacing on either side of your main circle edges. So I'm not going to take it too high, and I'm just going to bring it round, down the side, and then across at the bottom. You will notice that my artwork is not perfect, and that is very much intentional. It doesn't need to be a perfect, immaculate drawing. Right, you now have your two circles, and you should have a square box that is around the outside. We're then going to add a representation of the Roman numerals inside the clock face, and that means I'm going to make a mark that represents the number that would be on the real clock itself. So I'm going to put a mark at 12 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock. And that helps me gauge where the rest of the numbers are going to go. So that means there should be two more marks in between each of those marks I have already made, equally spaced. So I'm going to put another one in for 1 o'clock, for 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And that is how I mark out the clock. The next thing we're going to need to do is add the hands, but let's see if you can just finish off those numerals before we start adding the hands of the clock. For adding the hands, you're going to need to mark in a middle point where the hands are going to be coming from, and it's going to be up to you what time you decide the clock to be at. I think I'm going to go with 1/4 to midnight, just because that's close to the witching hour, let's call it. So I'm going to draw a short hand pointing to the 12, and I'm going to draw a longer hand pointing to the 9 to show that the time is 1/4 to 12. But as I said, it is up to you what time you would like your clock to show. Okay, if you need a moment to pause the video here, please do so now. If not, we are going to keep going and we're going to be drawing the rest of the clock face. So we're now going to be adding another square around the outside of the original one that we have. So see if you can add another layer of a square around the outside that the one we have already drawn. Excellent. If you have that in place, we're now going to make this a little bit more 3D. So follow very carefully to find out how to do that. We're going to add 2 small diagonal lines going down the way on the left hand side. So slightly diagonal to the left, and then connect them at the side to give the clock face a little bit of what I call depth. It's just going to show almost the side of the clock building. From there, we are then going to take this line here from this corner and we're going to draw it all the way down to the bottom of the page. So take it all the way down to the page, and then we're going to come over to this side on this corner and we're going to draw the line over on this side down to the bottom as well. If you're managing to keep up, we're now going to draw a third line, which is going to be here at the edge of this first square that we had drawn. So I'm now going to draw another line coming down here like so. Now, Big Ben has almost like slats inside it, and I think they must be windows. I've never actually been inside Big Ben, but I'm going to represent that with just some straight lines. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this rectangle up into equal parts with 2 horizontal lines. So I'm going to add the first 2 horizontal lines in about here, and then I'll do the same equal spacing all the way down the rectangle that I've currently drawn. I have managed to fit in 1, 2, 3, 4, but you may have fitted in more, which is absolutely fine. Once you have those, we're then going to add some straight lines inside these small rectangular boxes. And they don't need to be exactly perfect or even, they just need to be spaced out across the front to represent the structure of Big Ben, the building itself. So I'm just going to add those lines in now. See if you can do that too. Okay, we are coming to the really fun part now. Let's finish off the clock tower. So on top of our first original square, we're now going to draw another 2 small lines on the left and right hand side, and you're going to connect them across. Then add some lines in between going from the top to the bottom, equally across the top. Next, we're going to take another diagonal line above on top of that rectangle, so 2 diagonal lines, one pointing into the right, one pointing into the left, and then connect them across the top. We're now coming onto the roof of what is the clock tower. I'm going to add some circles to this bit here, just to show some different features and textures of the building. And then once you have done that, see if you can add another rectangle on top of that with the same sort of lines again. And finally, of course, we're going to finish with a triangle shape on the top. So I'm going to take a tall triangle almost to the top of the page and bring it down. And on the very top, you're going to add the cross shape like that. On the top of this one, I would also add some other detail. I'm going to just add circles again, but it is up to you. You could probably add any sort of pattern you want. It's just to represent the roof of the clock tower. Now there is a bit of a gap here, so once you have done all of this, we are going to just add a replica side image on either side, and again I'm just going to connect it like so on the left hand side to give it a little bit of a 3D effect. Similarly with these lines, I'm going to take them down across the side of the building now, like that, to give it a bit of a 3D effect. Okay, we now have drawn a very, very basic sketch of Big Ben. I hope yours is looking just like Big Ben, as mine is, of course. Right, let's move on to the rest of the Houses of Parliament. This is where it is going to get a little bit trickier. Right, beside Big Ben, we are now going to draw another building, and we're going to start the rectangle between, not near the top of the clock tower, but take your second rectangle square, and we're going to draw another rectangle coming across and to the side of Big Ben. Big Ben is much bigger than the other buildings, so that's why it should be the more prominent feature. Once you have done that, we are going to add a double line at the top, and we're going to equally space it again in the same way that we did the Big Ben Tower, just with equal double lines coming down. Inside each of these rectangles, which I've actually just done wrong, so ignore what I have done there, but I'm going to show you what you should do, is you're going to add, let's call it a rainbow shape, and go across the bottom, and again on each of the middle of those you're going to do a rainbow and then connect it at the bottom, another rainbow, connect it at the bottom, and you're going to add in 2 lines and going down and 1 line going across. These are shaped windows on the side of the building, and then on either side of those you can just add 2 lines to represent some of the smaller windows on the left and right hand side. It is tricky, as you can see. I have already made a mistake myself, but hopefully you will not make the same mistake that I did. Right, once you have the windows and indeed those designs inside the rectangle, we're now going to be drawing the top of this building. So you should have the windows going down and the singular lines. Let's now draw the top of the building. So we're going to draw a line up and then create a triangle on the top, which you can then bring down, but don't bring it all the way down. And I'm then going to go across and add some smaller features on the top, and then a final tower on the other side, like that. Once you have that, we have some more feature windows here and 2 others just inside those turret styles, and the turrets again have the small crosses on the top. I did warn you this was tricky. Then once we have that, we're just going to draw another line across the back, like so. It's like the rooftop at the back there. Alright, I hope you're managing to follow along with me. This is harder than I thought it was going to be. Okay, let's move on to our next building. It's another long form rectangle, so I'm actually going to start this one just below where these towers are here. I'm going to draw a line across to start building the next rectangle that is next to this one here. Right, the good news is that these bottom horizontal lines that we have drawn are going to connect across here to this one. So see if you can connect those across now. Now, instead of drawing the same line across here, we're going to draw some more shapes on the top of this one, as well as this time 3 long rectangular windows. 1, 2, 3. The good thing is once you've done those windows, we're then going to draw another 3 rectangular windows below that and fill them in with the same cross shape. Thankfully, once you get the pattern right, it is a lot easier to draw. So see if you can add those windows in now, as well as completing this next column of building work on the Houses of Parliament. This is going to be the final rectangle that we draw in this set of 3 before moving on to the last part of the drawing, and it is exactly the same as the first one that we have drawn. So I'm actually going to draw an open rectangle line, which means I'm going to take a line just equal to the others on the left hand side here, which means I can connect the horizontal lines across the building as we have done previously already, like like so. And as we've already done, these windows are the same as these windows. So I'm going to add the rainbow line with the double window inside and the 2 lines on the left and right hand side on the bottom one, on the middle one, and on the top one. Like so. Then all we need to do is finish off the top towers. So I'm going to take the lines across like that to match up with these horizontal lines here, so they've all been matched up, and then we're going to draw this part again. So you're going to take a tall tower, bring it down, you're going to give it like 3 chimneys, another tall tower, oh mine's a bit wonky, and bring it down and add the crosses on the top, as well as your windows, small windows in here, and the 3 lines like so. Then add the final rooftop pattern, or the final connecting roof line on the top. Okay, we're coming to the last part. Let's hope it's a little bit easier. Let's hope so. Right, let's get on with the last part of this Houses of Parliament drawing. We're not going to be starting at the top of these buildings, but rather just below the top, following this horizontal line here. So once you have found that line, we're going to take the top line and we are going to draw a long rectangle right the way along and down to the bottom of your page. Then we're going to take these 2 horizontal lines and follow them straight across, keeping it connecting as we go. So I'm going to take this line and draw it again straight across. Then we are going to split this rectangle into equal parts. It doesn't really matter how many equal parts you have. I'm going to just take a guess and say I'm probably going to do about 8, but what I'm going to do is draw the first one. So I'm going to draw that just a couple of, maybe that's probably just about 1 centimetre, maybe slightly more than that, and then I'm just going to do the same again. I'm just going to split it into these equal size rectangular shapes all the way along. It doesn't really matter how many you have, you just want them to be equal as they're going along. Once you have done that, we are getting close to the end. We're going to take this other horizontal line and we're just going to draw that going across as well. And take that one across to here. And I'm going to add a window in each of these boxes. So see if you can add a long rectangular window in each of these boxes. Okay, hopefully you are managing to draw along. We're adding the windows now. Thankfully they're easy, and if you notice, I am not using a ruler at all. I am just completely drawing this freehand. None of these shapes are in perfect size or shape, but they are doing the job. It is just a sketch of the Houses of Parliament. Right, let's finish this off. You have done so well if yours have come this far. I'm impressed that I've even come this far. We are going to be taking a line that's going to follow along the top, but every time we reach one of these horizontal lines, we're going to be drawing almost like a turret. So I'm going to now add an extra spike on top of each of these lines, like so. Once you have done that, we are then going to start drawing the turrets. So see if you've got all those straight lines sticking up the top of the building. We're now going to be drawing 7 turrets on top. Now maybe you might just want to watch me do this first and then you can do it. Here's the plan, everybody. We're going to draw a straight line until I reach the spike, and then I'm going to go up, draw a small spiky tower and down, and then head to my next one and do the same again, keeping them all about the same sort of height and shape all the way along until I reach the last line. So you can see kind of how it's looking. I'm going to bring it to here, draw up again, spike at the top, triangular shape, and down along to my next one, up, spike it up and down, along, up, spike it up, down, and then my last one, hooray, hallelujah, my last one is going to be here and bring it down to connect to there. They are very wonky, those ones that I have drawn, but maybe you'll do them a bit better than me, and when you have them you can also add a small kind of cross on the top as well. You might want a couple of minutes to do that now. I'm assuming you may well need a bit more time than I have taken, and that is really not a problem. Right, we are now going to just finish off by connecting it to the roof, which is going to run along the top in between the tips of those towers that we have drawn along like that. So we now have the majority. I think we have done not too bad, everybody. If you're, like I say, still at this stage, you're doing very well. We are now just going to add the bottom windows in down here, which you can't quite see. I'm just going to add little squares along the bottom to represent the bottom of the building. Some of them might have 2, some of them might have 3. At this point, to be honest, as long as it looks like the Houses of Parliament, you have done pretty well. I'm quite pleased with that. If you're feeling you need a bit more time, you can pause the video now. Alternatively, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to colour in my Houses of Parliament. You might just want to leave it as a plain sketch, which you are equally welcome to do, and you could maybe add some fireworks above this. What I'm going to now do is cut this out and stick it onto some black paper. To finish it off, I'm going to use some of my special crayons to create fireworks in the sky. It's also up to you whether you want to colour in your Houses of Parliament. I'm going to add a touch of colour now, but you can decide how you want to finish yours off. And that is how to draw the Houses of Parliament. If you got this far, I would give yourself a massive pat on the back. That was really, really tricky, so well done if you managed that. I hope you have a brilliant Guy Fawkes night with a super bonfire, and I'll see you soon. Bye!